She was called the People's Princess, yet she never truly belonged to herself. From the moment Diana Spencer entered the world of royalty, her life stopped being her own. The fairy tale wedding to Prince Charles in 1981 was watched by millions. A union that seemed like a dream, but behind the shimmering veil of royal glory, a storm had already begun to brew. Few knew the tears that streamed down her face on her wedding night, or the weight she carried on her fragile shoulders. Diana was only 20 years old, young, naive, and deeply in love. But Charles, the man she married, was still emotionally attached to another woman, Camilla Parker Bowles. Even before the wedding, Diana had found a bracelet Charles intended for Camilla, engraved with their private initials. That discovery shattered something inside her. She began to question everything: his love, the marriage, the palace walls. Closing in around her as she tried to embrace her new role, the royal family remained distant. Diana was not born into royalty, and her free spirit clashed with centuries of tradition. She was expected to be silent, composed, and obedient. But Diana's heart was too big, too loud, too filled with emotion. She wanted to love, to connect, to matter. The palace grew colder, and Diana grew lonelier. Her cries for affection were answered with formal smiles and carefully worded memos. Even her pregnancies were watched with clinical detachment. When she was pregnant with Prince William, Charles complained that she had grown chubby. During her second pregnancy with Prince Harry, Diana felt completely isolated, emotionally abandoned by her husband. As the media fell in love with her, the royal household began to see her as a threat. She had charm, beauty, and a deeply genuine warmth. Crowds gathered wherever she went. Her presence outshined the monarchy itself. Jealousy began to spread quietly behind palace doors. To the world, she smiled gracefully. But in private, Diana was struggling with bulimia, self-harm, and anxiety. Her mental health was ignored or dismissed by the royal establishment. She once threw herself down a staircase while pregnant, hoping Charles would finally see her pain. But he didn't. Instead, he grew colder, more withdrawn. He returned to Camilla's arms. It wasn't just a broken marriage, it was a war of silence. Diana began to find solace in her children. Her love for William and Harry was boundless. She raised them to be human first and royal second. She took them to homeless shelters, to AIDS clinics, to orphanages. She wanted them to see the world through the eyes of kindness. As years passed, whispers of affairs surrounded Diana. She was labeled unstable, manipulative, even dangerous. But in reality, she was fighting for air in a castle built without oxygen. For women like her, she wanted to be heard. So, in secret, she agreed to record her story. Those tapes were later used in the infamous biography Diana, Her True Story. That book opened the world's eyes. It spoke of her suffering, her betrayal, and her longing for love. The royal family was shaken, but instead of helping her heal, they closed the doors even tighter. Eventually, Diana and Charles separated, then divorced. She lost her title, her security, and much of her protection. Yet Diana became more powerful outside the palace than within it. Her activism touched millions. She held hands with AIDS patients when others wouldn't even shake them. She walked through active minefields in Angola to raise awareness. She began dating again, finding pieces of happiness with Dodi Fayed, the son of an Egyptian billionaire. But as her light grew, so did the shadows around her. The paparazzi followed her like vultures. Every move, every smile, every tear was captured and sold. The media that once worshipped her now fed off her pain. She became hunted. In the summer of 1997, Diana seemed happy again. She was on vacation, smiling, tanning, laughing, something she hadn't done freely in years. But someone, somewhere, did not want that peace to last. And then came the tunnel in Paris. It was the night of August 31st, 1997. Diana and Dodi had dined at the Ritz Hotel in Paris. As they tried to escape the paparazzi, they entered a black Mercedes-Benz. With Henri Paul at the wheel, they drove into the Pont de l'Alma tunnel. What happened next remains clouded in tragedy and speculation. The car was speeding, over 100 kilometers per hour. It crashed violently into the 13th pillar of the tunnel. Dodi and the driver died instantly. Diana was alive, but barely. She was trapped in the wreckage. It took nearly an hour for paramedics to extract her, and transport her to the hospital. Her heart had been torn. Surgeons fought for her life. But the internal bleeding was too severe to be by 4 a.m. Princess Diana was gone. The world stopped. News stations went silent for a moment before unleashing the horror. Millions woke to the headlines. Shock turned to mourning. People cried in the streets, lit candles, placed flowers outside Kensington Palace. The grief was global. It was raw. It was real. And then came the questions. How could this happen? Why was her security detail so small? Why was the driver intoxicated? Why were there no seatbelts used? Why did it take so long to get her to the hospital? Why did the royal family remain so quiet, almost cold? In the days that followed, conspiracy theories blossomed. Some believed it wasn't just an accident, that Diana was a threat to the monarchy and had to be silenced, that her relationship with Dodi, a Muslim man, was unacceptable to the establishment, that she was pregnant, that the British intelligence had been watching her, that the car had been tampered with. Years later, investigations were launched. French authorities ruled it an accident. The British inquest called it unlawful killing due to gross negligence by the driver and paparazzi. But even after countless reports and court sessions, the public wasn't satisfied. The truth felt buried under a mountain of official statements. Prince William and Harry were just 15 and 12 when their mother died. They walked behind her coffin through London, heads bowed, grief etched into their young faces. The nation wept with them. Diana was gone, but she was never truly gone. Her death forced the royal family to change. The public outrage pushed Queen Elizabeth to break protocol and address the nation. She paid tribute to Diana, something unimaginable. Just a year before, the monarchy, once an unshakable fortress, began to evolve. Years passed. Tributes poured in. Statues were built. Documentaries aired. But the mystery remained. Diana's voice, however, echoed louder than ever. In her recordings, her interviews, her legacy, she still spoke of love, pain, and hope. Her sons grew up in her shadow. William married Kate, and the media hailed her as the new Diana. Harry married Meghan, and again the palace walls seemed to shake. When Harry and Meghan stepped away from royal duties, many saw Diana's spirit in their choice: to live, to love, to escape. Princess Diana's story is not just about tragedy. It's about courage. It's about a woman who refused to be quieted, who chose empathy over tradition, humanity over ceremony, love over duty. She was flawed. She made mistakes. But she tried to remain human in a world that demanded she become a symbol. And in doing so, she became immortal, not in marble or myth, but in the hearts of people everywhere. People who still see her smile, still hear her laughter, still mourn. What could have been? The people's princess never stopped belonging to the people.